Our next guest has been in the business for over 40 years, has appeared in nearly 50 films, and was nominated for an Oscar on the 40th anniversary of his 21st.
That's a lovely way.
Okay, that's the way we'll do it. Yeah.
Actor Richard E. Grant joins us now to chat about his memoir, A Pocket Full of Happiness. But before we talk to him, let's remind ourselves of his trip to Dublin last month.
Dawn ran St Stephen's Green in the heart of Dublin. Not the response last night, honestly. If I ever need a heart transplant, I'm coming to Dublin. Yes. They gave me their heart thrice over, which I'm incredibly grateful. Oh my God, the crack. Absolutely extraordinary. Thank you.
Richard E. Grant, thank you so much for joining us today. I look at that and I think you've gone on holiday by mistake. One of my favourite quotes from Withnail and I. How are you today?
I'm grand, thank you very much. And, I just have to say over and over again, the response that I got at the concert hall in Dublin when I was there just was, off the chart, blew my head off. Absolutely extraordinary.
Okay, well, we love sincere people in Ireland, and you're certainly one of those. So you're welcome back whenever you want. Richard, it's great to talk to you. As Elaine said, Withnail and I is one of our favourite movies. My daughter, I think I saw Spice World at Donna how many times because she was such a fan of them. And of course, you were there too. There's so many others. The Oscar nomination for Can You Ever Forgive Me? But of course, long before that, you're a diarist. And you've been doing it for, practically all your life. How did it begin?
It began inadvertently because when I was 10 years old, I woke up on the backseat of a car and saw my mum bonking my father's best friend on the front seat. So I couldn't tell anybody and started keeping a diary then. I've been doing it for the last 55 years. So, and in the same way, when I knew that my wife Joan was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer on the 21st of December 2020, that I wanted to keep as detailed a record as I could of our time that we have left together, so that I wouldn't forget anything. So that's the basis of the book that is called A Pocket Full of Happiness, which is what I came to Dublin to talk about.
Yeah, and it's an absolutely beautiful read. And the whole phrase, A Pocket Full of Happiness, it came from your beautiful late wife, Joan. Tell us what she said to you.
It was just such a smart thing to have said. She said to my daughter and I 4 days before she died, she said, look, I know you're going to be sad, but I challenge you both to try and find a pocket full of happiness in each day. And the wonderful thing about it is that it's given us a kind of mantra or guide to navigate the abyss of grief that we've been dealing with for the last 13 months. And it also has given us permission to feel joy or happiness and not feel guilty about it, because that's what she wanted. And that, I think, is a great gift to have left people like my daughter and I, who are left behind as she's gone on to wherever she's gone.
You're sitting in what looks like a room full of character. Is that room steeped in memories, Richard?
Yes, it's minimalist, as you can see. Very little. And it's all beige and it's white walls. No, it's absolutely crammed with stuff because my wife and I were just lifelong collectors. So there are photographs of us together and all stuff that we've collected all around us. Every room is jammed to the gunwales.
Yeah, the journey of grief is different for every single person. I know your wife passed from lung cancer. My own mother actually died last year of lung cancer as well, so I have an idea of what it's like. But the last few months that you spent together, a privilege, I think, to spend that much time and be so close and be able to talk about these things and talk about a grief and what the future would be like for you and your daughter, maybe?
Yeah, because you're able to say everything that you want to in the time that you have left. Whereas, my daughter's best friend's father dropped dead of a heart attack, and so they never got to say goodbye other than just in the morning, bye, Dad. So the fact that we had all that time, and my wife said to me, I would like more than anything to be able to die at home in our bed together. And that is what happened. And I'm so grateful for the real privilege of that I was able to to fulfill her wishes and do that.
You right at the very top, we were showing that great piece from Stephen's Green, where you're talking about how the Irish audience received you and how well they received you.
Yeah.
We kind of played a little role in how you and Joan got together as well.
Yes, you did, because when I had emigrated from Swaziland to London in 1982, there were all the dramas being made about the troubles in Belfast at that time. And my agent said, you know, you're black-haired and tall and you have blue eyes. Could you possibly, go up for Irish parts? How's your Belfast accent? And I said, debatable. And so they said, you have to go and get some accent classes. So that's how I met her. So I didn't get a Belfast role in anything, but I got a wife and the love of my life instead. So that's the connection.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and you're together for so long, such a long and successful and happy marriage. What was your secret? What was to success? Because it's so rare, particularly in the showbiz world, to have that sort of connection that lasts so long.
Yeah, I think 38 years marriage in show business terms is probably like about 300 in normal civilian life. I think that it was very simple. A journalist asked me this, and I think that essentially we began a conversation in bed in January 1983, and that ended in bed on the 2nd of September 2021. Holding each other's hands. So we never stopped talking and we never stopped sleeping with each other in the same bed. It's as simple as that.
Oh, look, you asked for private lessons and went around for dinner, and a 38-year relationship of pure happiness began. Isn't clever you and clever her? Can I just ask, because when a diagnosis like that comes and knocks on your door and steps into your life, it has a rippling effect. So were you surprised by people's reaction to A, the diagnosis, but also B, to Joan's sad passing?
Yes, because it's not that you find out who your friends are, but you find out what kind of friends they are. And, 99% of people were absolutely incredible and supported us beyond all measure. Gabriel Byrne he was filming in Wales. He would drive up to where we had this cottage in Gloucestershire at every opportunity, and he would just sit on the bed and shoot the breeze with her. And when she got confused by some of the drugs towards the end of her life, he would just go down the rabbit hole of whatever logic she had gone on. And I'm so grateful and indebted to Gabriel for that kindness. And then, of course, there's the 1% of people that either cross the road because they don't want to talk to you, or literally drop off the cliff face, and you just don't hear from them. So you then have to do a sort of edit job and go, that person is not the friend that I thought that they were.
Yeah, you really know what your relationships are like after a bereavement. But speaking of relationships, and you've had many with colleagues and friends over the years, but the best thing I have ever seen in my entire life at the Oscars, and I watch it avidly every year, was your reaction to being there. Because I'm so sick of Hollywood A-listers being all blasé. Oh, it's just another award ceremony. It's not even being nominated that counts. You were there. You were thrilled. You were delighted. You saw Barbara Streisand, your idol. I was so refreshingly delighted by your reaction. Tell us, what was it like for you, the excitement of being there?
More than anything, it's like being in Madame Tussauds, but for real, where every single person that you see around you is famous. And when they actually know your name, it's even more mind-boggling. So, the fact that I had been a fan of Barbara Streisand since 1969, when I was 12 years old, to finally meet her was just, I knew that in my category of Best Supporting Actor that year, Mahershala Ali was going to win. And we all knew that. So all the Vegas odds had told us that in advance. So there was no expectation that any of us, the other guys, were going to win. So when I got to meet Barbara Streisand that night, I just thought, well, I didn't win the gold, but I've got the pot of gold instead. So it was just the thrilling, just the best ride that I've ever had career-wise, because, I grew up in the smallest country in the Southern Hemisphere, where the prospect of becoming an actor was so laughed at and seemed so ludicrous. So to end up there all these years later in that room full of people with a nomination was, just a boyhood dream come true beyond all imagining.
It seems to be like a passion in your life. You went for a role in a movie playing a guy from Belfast. You got a wonderful relationship for 38 years. You go to win an Oscar. You wind up acquiring Barbara Streisand as a good friend.
Acquiring.
It's all right. That's all right.
Win-win.
Oh, I have to say, this has been one of my favourite interviews ever, Richard. It's such a delight. And I'm going to be watching With Neil and I again tonight. That's my plans for the evening, to refresh my memory on one of the funniest films ever in existence. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.